Good day, folks. Thanks for joining us here at SportsSource.tv for our overtime segment this week. As always, it's brought to you by Jinx Logos. 865-755-7767 is the number to call. I tell you every week, if you are looking for tchotchkes to give away, if you're looking for T-shirts or golf shirts or jackets, bags, cups, mugs for your own sales team, nobody better than Jinx Logos for that kind of stuff. Their items are top quality. You're talking brands like Nike. The prices are ridiculously low. I've never seen them lower. And the quality of the work that they put on there with your logo is fantastic. Can say nothing greater than I use and abide. I live by Jinx Logos. That's who I use. You should use them too. All right. Joined by Josh Ward from Sports Radio WNML. I got it right again?
You got it again.
Okay. Joined by Mark Pankratz, former Vol staff member, former player at Milwaukee, as they call it now. And right there, former assistant at Tennessee and former head coach at Appalachian State for what, 8 years? 9 years?
9 years, yeah.
9 seasons. Houston Fancher, Mark Pankratz, Josh Ward, thank you. Let's talk about Tennessee this week. During today's show, we discussed the fact that they're way ahead of where most of us thought they would be. Now you got a road trip to South Carolina coming up on Tuesday. You keep waiting for Frank Martin's team to have a breakthrough, but they just went on the road and lost at Auburn. Later in the week, you got Texas A&M. Billy Kennedy might have his best team since he's been down there. They've got 11 wins already. What do you think the Vols do this week? And I'll start with my basketball guys down there first.
All right, I'll tell you what I think they do. I think they go 2-0 this week, and I'll tell you why. Now, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid at this point in time. I think just because of the way we play, South Carolina does not shoot the ball especially well from the perimeter. The only concern I have is they do have a couple of guys that have some inside presence. They've got some guys they can go to on the inside. They've got some guys that aren't great finishers, but they can catch the ball and be inside receivers. That being said, I think our zone bothers them. I think our press bothers them a little bit. And I think they've shown some good numbers defensively. They could not guard Auburn last night down the stretch, who had some guys who could make plays off the bounce. They didn't guard them well man-to-man. Arkansas couldn't guard us in man-to-man. They had to go zone a little bit. South Carolina does not like to play zone. Frank Martin's not a zone guy. Right. But then, once again, I think it's a basketball game. We have a chance to go on the road and win. On top of that, Texas A&M comes in here, and it's a team that does not play especially well on the road. Now, they're a team that's shown flashes. They've won a couple of games. They should have beaten Kentucky this year. They had the ball in their hands with a chance to finish the game against Kentucky. They beat us on a couple of last-second shots, recently in the games we've played. Still the same type of basketball team. I think we get them here in Thompson-Boling Arena. We're on a 4-game win streak.
Mark, anybody else? Are you as giddy?
Man, because of the opponents, I'd like to say we could go 2-0, but I'm still in that cautious mode. I think if we go 1-1, I'd be pleased. South Carolina is the one that scares me because you mentioned their inside presence. They got a 6'11" guy. They can really defend, and they're going to make it difficult for us to score. They're coming off a loss against Auburn, like you mentioned, and so they're going to be rearing to go, wanting to get this win. So I'm going to say 1-1.
All right, Josh, I want to start with you, and everybody can chime in here too. I meant to say this in today's show. There's a lot of things that I put in the script that we just don't ever get to. And this is one of them. And you working in the media, doing a 3-hour radio show every day, it's perfect to start with you. There are those people who pick Tennessee in any sport against anyone, regardless of Tennessee's talent level, regardless of the deal. They just pick Tennessee. I think those folks are missing part of what's been a great story so far. I mean, this is a Hoosiers type thing that we've seen so far. This is not a roster that should be 11-5 at this point. But also, Josh, and this is where the question comes in, you've had a lot of people who just haven't bought in. They don't know that Donnie Tyndall's going to be around. They thought it was going to be a bad season. So I'm not going to sit there and invest time in it. They're missing an amazing story to this point. Do you think they're going to start to buy in now that folks like Jerry Palm have them in his bracket, now that we're showing numbers that put them in the mix for a tournament bid with 14 games to go? Do you think folks are going to start to buy in a little bit more, or is it still going to be more of a wait-and-see approach?
I think people will buy in, and I think that actually did start this week. I think that Arkansas win, it was at home. It was coming off a really ugly performance against Alabama where it would have been easy for fans to say, you know what, I'll wait it out. I'll see what happens at the end of the season with the NCAA. For them to come back and play so well, it's an exciting win against Arkansas. Then you have the Jerry Palm projection. Then they go back and win on the road against Missouri. I think that's starting to add up that fans are now buying more into Donnie Tyndall. There will be a lot that still say, I want to see what happens with the NCAA, certainly. But I think more have already started to buy in and believe an NCAA tournament run is possible as well.
I'm not going to lie. I was pleasantly surprised by just the attendance in the Arkansas game.
Yeah.
After that Alabama game, I was thinking there was going to be very few in the building.
Tuesday night.
On Tuesday, yeah. And but I think it's important for the fan base to come out and show that support, because what the NCAA stuff is still looming. And if the president and the athletic director can see support with butts in the stands, that is going to weigh heavily on their decision of whether or not it's going to be even harder for them to get rid of Donnie.
Right. If it comes down to the Bruce Pearl situation, there's still people that think you could have kept Bruce Pearl. You could not have. 3-year show cause. The NCAA would have made that worse, and they would have put penalties on Tennessee if they tried to keep him. I guarantee you of that. That was not an option. However, if Donnie Tyndall is not if you're presented with an option on Donnie Tyndall, if the administration isn't backed into a corner as they were in the Bruce Pearl situation, I think you're right. I think that if there's some gray area, Vol fans who get out and show their support could influence the decision by Tennessee's administrators. Now, that all depends on how the NCAA looks at Donnie Tyndall and what comes from that. But I think you're right. I think as long as there's a gray area, fans can have an input in this one. And it won't take a petition this time. Just takes butts and seats, as you say. Houston, your thoughts on the fan buy-in with this team, with Donnie Tyndall at this point? Because he praises the fans for their support, but he wants more of it, obviously.
Well, I think the fan support has been good up until this point. I would like to see it get just a little bit better. You know, when we had it during the heyday of Coach Pearl here, we're 18,000, 19,000 and top 5 in the country. There's a lot of teams in this league would kill for what we have right now in this league. But I will say this: I hope if people find out I'm going to die in a year, they don't wait and come see me on the last week of my life. I'd like for them to come see me while I'm still alive and enjoy me while I've still got some validity.
Right.
So the same thing here. Let's not wait and see at the end of the season what's going to happen with Coach Tyndall. Let's come enjoy one of the best shows that's going on in Knoxville right now with this Tennessee basketball team.
Well, it's fascinating to me that you've gotten this much out of this team. And it's just hard to look at it and see any way that this was coming. I mean, I know there are people out there saying, hey, we got this guy from IUPUI. Well, okay, anybody with a history of basketball looks at that and says, yeah, he was at IUPUI for a reason. You know, those types of things. This is not a roster of 5-star, 4-star. You're down to 10 people.
No post player, no point guard, and you don't have guys that can shoot the ball.
Aside from that.
And no bench. And you got 9 guys on scholarship.
Well, 10 now that Galen Campbell's
right.
there. But he was just converted.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is. It's remarkable at this point. And the thing is, even if it does start to turn south a little bit, I think that a little bit of rope needs to be given on that one. I mean, let's say this team does go 1-1 this week. That's solid for this team.
Yeah.
If you're still 4-2, 3 circuits into the 3 cycles into the SEC schedule, that's a win, baby.
Sure, and Donnie Tyndall, his opening press conference when practice began this fall, he started by saying, we don't have a point guard, we don't have size in the post, and we don't have depth. And that was when they did have Jabari McGee and they did have Dom Woodson that they were at least hoping could turn into something for them. So they've actually lost players since then. And I think they've far outperformed. I think there are yeah buts to the yeah buts as well. Like we could say, yeah, but they only beat Missouri and they only beat Mississippi State on the road, but Vanderbilt didn't, and South Carolina wasn't able to beat Auburn. So think about the other side, how it could be.
Well, and not only have you lost players, you've also lost 2 of his assistant coaches that he brought up here. So just at this point, and it is dangerous to go, you have to mention the tournament resume at this point because it's legitimate. It's legitimate. It's mid-January. The numbers say they're on the bubble. You have to talk about it. It's dangerous, however, to project, oh, yeah, this is going to continue. So I get that. But in terms of a story, this is so much better a story than what I expected us to be covering all year long, especially when the Tyndall NCAA stuff came down the pike. I thought this was going to be a miserable season. Halfway through it, it's been a pleasant surprise. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday morning, 11 a.m. on WATE 6 for the Sports Source. We appreciate it. See you then.